Welcome along to another themed week here on Property Tribes. It's Tenancy Compliance Week, and we are running this in association with our friends at Upad. I'm joined by Upad main man himself, James Davis. And James, really this week is actually a celebration of a new service by Upad, which really helps landlords to be compliant. So we're going to be talking throughout the week about Upad Basic. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Indeed, and just to give a bit of a backdrop, I suppose, Vanessa, is I've been a landlord for about the last 18 years. There was a whole load of legislation then, and it's sort of grown so much since then, and I find it a bit of a minefield. So we at Upad thought we'd react to that and sort of put a package together that will help landlords not have to sort of micromanage and ensure that they're doing all the right things. It almost does it for them. For those people buying Upad Basic, which you can do through PT, it also includes the compliance piece. And what that means is that we will send the documentation you're meant to give to your tenant at the start, and we log it as well, so there's confirmation of. And there's two folds to this. The first is there's a lot of information you need to give your tenant at the start of the tenancy agreement. One example is the government booklet on how to rent. It's not about giving it to your tenant, it's also about the correct version that you should be sharing, and also having confirmation back from the tenant that they've physically received it. And those three bits, with various things like gas certs and so on, are really important. Because if ever you want to evict your tenant and you apply to the courts for a Section 21 notice, courts are very much going to ask, have you given the tenants this information, and can you prove, and the burden is on us as landlord, the written word is really important. Can you prove that you've given your tenants this documentation? And just saying, oh, I sent it to them by email or I dropped it off will not suffice. So in your console on our Upad login, you'll be able to see that you've served the information to your tenants in order to be able to complete that Section 21. And that's the rationale behind why we launched it, because I just find it a real minefield, and it's almost inevitable, I think, that you'll slip up with so much stuff going on and different Section 21's agreement, different versions of this government booklet, that it's more likely that you'll fall over than not, I think. So I guess we're just trying to react to that, and this neatly fitted in with your compliance week that you're running, with the launch of our Upad Basic proposition, which you can access through the PT website, including this very important compliance piece.
Well, I think it's an absolutely brilliant service, and I think what's so great about it is technology does create this audit trail. So if you ever have to rely on information, prove that you've done something, then clearly technology is a great way to do that. And it seems to me this is really going to help landlords be very belts and braces, which is so important these days.
Yeah, I think the two things I would react to that is, I think first and foremost is this having a resource for landlords where they know they're doing all the compliance and they're conforming to what the regulations are is really important. To try and manage this individually by piecemeal, I think you're asking to fall over somewhere along the line. But I think also, as we're seeing in other industries, we're seeing the growth of other stuff like blockchain, sorry. And I think the advancements in tech and what it can facilitate, blockchain is really very much a way that can work in this particular space for the recording of documentation that it's been received by various participants, and is really useful for the everyday landlord that needs this type of support in managing their portfolio.
Now, Upad have always been a lighthouse to landlords. You're always trying to make things easier for landlords and help them be compliant. So you've clearly got the existing Upad service for the self-managing landlord, which we know and love. How does this Upad Basic service, how does it work, kind of integrate with that?
Yeah, if I remember rightly, Upad and Prop Tribes both started at pretty much the same sort of time. And I think what we both do is very much for the same purpose and for the same group of people, and that is to offer trusted guidance, being this lighthouse within the rental market, and a resource for people to come to learn and to run their business professionally, and to follow all the regulation. And from my perspective, it's just so many things that as landlords we need to be aware of. most landlords are actually self-serving. They're the DIY landlord rather than handing the keys over to an agency. And so I think what we are developing with this particular product, Upad Basic, and other things that we do, is very much in reaction to the fact that most landlords do self-serve and also need sites like Prop Tribes as a resource on how to do things better. And that's, I think, why we come up with new propositions like that, because of the type of customers that are out there who we put at the heart of everything that we do.
Well, it is getting harder and harder to be a compliant landlord. There's so many changes, so many updates, and as you rightly pointed out, you have to serve the correct version of the How to Rent guide, and so on and so forth. And really, I think what we can say is that Upad Basic is just making it so easy for landlords to be compliant. And well, I for one certainly welcome that.
Yeah, I thank you for your support, Vanessa. I agree. I mean, this came about because we were just seeing more and more stuff as landlords that we had to conform to, and it was just like, this is actually overwhelming. Let's break this down and let's almost have like this checklist to ensure you're doing all the right things. And you know, when we've in webinars we've done a lot of in the past with serving Section 21 notices, we have a checklist that goes with it of what you need to do to ensure you're being compliant, so you can literally tick off each bit as you're going through. And it is just such a minefield, and I think if we can take the pressure off landlords of having to be concerned about whether they're doing everything right or not, that only has to be a real value add from my perspective, and it's the ethos of what as a business we're all about.
Absolutely. So if I'm a landlord watching this and I'm interested in accessing Upad Basic, how do I go about that? And presumably there's a dashboard where you can see all your tenancies and all the different elements that need to be set up correctly to be compliant. Indeed.
So the first bit is this where I point up and down on the screen to see? But I think in each of the blog posts on this subject matter, you can access it from there. I think there's a couple of banner ads and so on that you can see on the Prop Tribes website. So you can access it from that point. Once you're logged into Upad within your console, you'll be able to see this resource, be able to upload your own EPC if you've got it, for example, and then be able to see the fact that we've served it to your tenants and we've had confirmation back from them that they've physically received it. For the reason, if you do go to court using Section 21, you can share that piece of paper that this documentation has been served and you've been compliant.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say, James, a really innovative new product from Upad, always kind of leading the way and supporting landlords. So very excited that we can help you launch this. And throughout the week, we're going to be showing, delivering more content about tenancy compliance issues. So we invite you to stay tuned for the rest of the week as Tenancy Compliance Week continues. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Vanessa.